Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the On the Pony Express podcast presented by our friends at Northwest Insurance Agency. I'm Billy Embody. Got Hayden Howerton with me, of course, because we're recapping SMU Boston College, hoping to get this one out to you a little bit earlier this week than normal. So, Hayden, we've got a lot to do, including the film room after SMU took down Boston College 45-13 on the road. We do all that and more on this edition of the pod that starts right now.
Remember when your biggest worry was finding parking at Dallas Hall? Now it's protecting your home, your car, maybe even that first business. That's where Northwest Insurance Agency comes in. Exclusive coverage designed by Mustangs for Mustangs who've galloped into the real world. Protect what you've built and move forward with confidence, because once a Mustang, always moving forward.
Northwest Insurance.
This is the On the Pony Express podcast, part of the On3 network. Check out all the SMU coverage you need at ontheponyexpress.com. Now, here's your host, Billy Embody.
1, 2, 3, let me go.
Hope everybody is having a great week. It is a bye week for SMU, so this is the only time you'll see Hayden Howerton and I together, but we'll make it worth your while and give you plenty to digest over the course of this week, including SMU's 45-13 win over Boston College up there. Beautiful day in Chestnut Hill for what was the red bandana game, and SMU left no doubt as to who was going to take this one, pulling away in the second half to get that win, Hayden.
Yeah, the weather was better than anticipated, and SMU played better than anticipated, to be honest. It was the biggest margin of victory for an ACC road game for the SMU Mustangs. And look, it's about time this team played up to their potential. I was highly concerned. I think a lot of people were, especially on our board. If you're not on there, go check some of that out. But I thought they would play down to the level of their opponent this week against Boston College. Yet SMU came into that game. They were excited for the opportunity to go get another ACC win, but it wasn't always pretty. It seemed like some halftime adjustments needed to be made, but ultimately you walk out of there with a huge win on the road against a Boston College team that's struggling, but SMU is playing the best ball in the ACC right now. We'll go over coast to coast later in this show. There was certainly a lot of chaos in the ACC over the weekend, but ultimately SMU was able to get in and get out with a huge win before the bye, where you instill some confidence in this program. There were a few penalties in this game. I mean, more than a few, 13 for 140 yards. We'll definitely talk about that and how those need to be addressed. But that was really my only big concern, minus the first key to the game, which we'll get to after one of our key sponsors.
Yeah, of course. Now that SMU's taking care of business, got through Boston College, you could start looking ahead. Maybe you want to spend some time with us out in California for that final regular season game of SMU slate. Maybe you want to hit Epic. Well, one of the great ways to do that would be with our friends at StatusJet. StatusJet.com. Go over there and check out all of their private jet charter offerings that they can help you, your family, friends, work colleagues, whoever plan the trip of a lifetime. Maybe you take them out to the West Coast to join us out at Epic on that Friday night or Saturday for the pregame tailgate. That'll be huge co-tailgate with SMU. Excited about that. Check them out, statusjet.com. And maybe if plane isn't for you, maybe you want to get into a new vehicle and drive yourself all the way out there. You can go to thomasautogroup.com to browse their selection across their 4 dealerships in McKinney: Ford, Subaru, Volkswagen, and Mitsubishi. Get in a new vehicle. I can tell you, I'm enjoying the Yukon. Almost 6 months into it now, and it could make probably the trip in maybe 2 or 3 tanks of gas. It just feels like that thing can go forever. And I appreciate Brandon Thomas and his team for helping me get into the right vehicle for me and my family. So check them out, thomasautogroup.com. And let's check out those keys to the game. Hayden, how do we do this week? Seems like there was a lot more boxes that could have been checked this week with just how lopsided it was.
Yeah, one of our keys to the game coming into this game was you had to win the first series. And unfortunately, we did not start fast. You lost the toss, you get the ball first. And I was really hoping this was going to be the week that offense would drive the field and go get some points. But 2 incompletions and a sack were the results of the first 3 plays of the game. 3 plays for -8 yards. Look, the staff must have known that this was going to be a huge day through the air to have those 5 consecutive passing plays that SMU's offense started with in this game. But you just hate seeing a start like that. Fortunately, defense was up next. They get a stop. SMU gets the ball back, and you drive 70 yards down the field to go up 7-0. So From a goal perspective, that one did not hit, but it didn't end up hurting you because defense was able to show up on their first time out. You just have to be better on opening possessions. We know it. Coach Lashley knows it. He talked about how we're probably one of the worst offensive teams on the first possession of the ball game this year.
It's got to be something that they can look into. Somebody has to have that stat. It would be like first drive success rate or something. I don't know.
First drive points, something.
Yeah, I don't know.
But so we didn't hit that one, unfortunately. The second one, I put this as you have to play keep away from Boston College. I really thought that their offensive line was going to try to take over this game the way they did last year when they came to Ford Stadium. I had that as the measuring stick of win the turnover battle and the time of possession battle. And while we won the turnover battle 4-1, you did lose the time of possession battle 33-27. I'm not going to count that against SMU because the explosive plays that we had offensively really shortened SMU's drives. We were able to run the ball really well, control the clock as much as we could because of Boston College giving up a ton of those explosive plays to our offense. It just ended up shortening some of those drives to only a few plays. So I'm going to count that one as a check and then dominate Boston College's offensive line. And when I put this as a goal, I wasn't quite anticipating this performance from the defensive line. The measuring stick was 3+ sacks and 6+ tackles for loss by our D-line. Well, SMU turned around 8 sacks on the day and 9 tackles for loss. Best game of the season so far for our defensive front, and a front that just continues to improve. So I'm going to put it 2 for 3 on the goals. I think ultimately, with it being so lopsided, I would have loved for it to be 3 for 3 if you just get that fast start. But ultimately, a really good day from a goal perspective.
Speaking of 3 for 3, there were plenty of opportunities to get even more than just 3 for 3 shots down from our friends at Socorro because SMU put up a good number of touchdowns on the board, 45 points. What a day for this offense, turning it on in the second half and pulling away. It really should have been a 60-piece if you look at some of the mental errors for that team and in penalties, which I know we'll get to. But our friends at Socorro certainly had it rolling for everybody. Very stress-free day. So you could have your tequila shots if you wanted, or it was probably great weather for the patio and get out there and enjoy a margarita somewhere. You can do that with our friends at Los Charros as well. Right there on Hillcrest, they've got the patio going. They've got the smoker now out there that they've completely redone. It's got a great story behind that smoker, so make sure you check it out and enjoy their Wagyu sirloin fajitas. Man, that looks like a Sunday meal if I've ever seen one. Just get them all lined up for football game day. You can do it on Saturday too, but any day of the week is a great day to go check out our friends at Los Charros, and they proudly serve our friends Socorro Tequila. And when you go online to socorrotequila.com, you can get free shipping on 3 bottles or more. So now that we're hungry and thirsty, Hayden, I'm thirsty for more of that SMU offense that they rolled out there this weekend against Boston College. Because if that's what we're going to see the rest of the way, some things need to go SMU's way, but it's hard to not see them winning out with that type of a showing.
Yeah, the rest of the league would need to watch out if this offense can come out there every week. I gave them an A-. The only minus I'm going to put on there is the penalty perspective. But other than that, everything really went in the offense's way this past Saturday. 45 points, tied your best of the season. That was your best in regulation because you only scored 38 in regulation against Baylor. 574 yards, season best for this team. KJ throws his back-to-back 300-yard game. First time he's ever done that in his career. 16 for 32, 326 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. And look, he's been close all year. He had 295 against Baylor, 290 versus TCU, 290 versus Clemson, and then 285 versus Syracuse. He has taken such a big step from a yardage perspective. Now, some of these interceptions do need to calm down. And the interception that was thrown, not his fault. Got batted at the line of scrimmage straight up.
Great play.
That's on the offensive line. We talk about it all the time when I was in that room of you got to get those jumpers hand down. Really what you got to do is you got to hit them right under the sternum and fold them over that way to get their hands down. But ultimately a batted ball ends up as the blemish on KJ's otherwise really good stat line. But Ymir Knight, let's talk about him. 7 receptions, 162 yards, career high and highest of the season for any SMU receiver. 1 touchdown as well. And look, we're spreading the wealth a little bit. Ymir is the 5th different receiver to lead the team in receiving yards in a game this year. He led the TCU game as well, but it was only a 69-yard performance. Definitely kind of his breakout game that we just saw this past Saturday. And what was really encouraging after a poor performance on all fronts last week against Miami, 222 yards rushing. best rushing performance of the year. So they have the worst last year, and they turn around and have their best this week. I knew that this offensive line would be able to bounce back, and you know that they have the talent. But what a shout out to that unit to be able to turn around and get things done. 31 carries, which equals a 7.2 yard per carry average on the day. You had multiple explosive runs. And look, we saw TJ Harden show some burst that had been missing for quite a few weeks. He lowered his shoulder on an early third down and was able to get the yardage needed because this offense was able to keep Boston College guessing. You had 13 explosive plays, and that at the end of the day is what killed Boston College. They could not stop our explosives. We had 10 explosive passes for 307 yards, and we had 3 big runs for 126. And 2 of our big-time runs, Derek McFall's 48-yard touchdown and TJ Harden's 53-yard run down to the 7, those were on 3rd and short. That was a great job by this team staying ahead of the sticks. They were able to do a lot of things to keep themselves in great situations because SMU was 8 for 14 on 3rd down. 4 straight touchdown drives to start that second half. And Rhett Lashley said college football has turned into a game of explosive plays. But if you're explosive and you can run the ball, you can control the game a little better. And this offense controlled the game the entire way.
I think for me, watching KJ is just such a really – you're seeing him obviously battle through what he's going through. It's not a sprained ankle. It's bone bruise. It's something that isn't going to get better unless he just does not play football for a minute. So that's not happening. He's playing through it, and they're working on all of that. But he was a little. I thought there was definitely that juice from BC's side of things early that had it at least from a. I think from their secondary that had maybe things tightened up a little bit. There wasn't really as much separation, and Kevin was able to kind of stay patient through that. Rhett talked about that in post game, and how he was able to, just keep himself in the game and not let maybe some of the past struggles on the road or struggles after a big game affect his overall game. Because when you look across college football and you're seeing Indiana have to, stave off, Penn State right there at the end with an incredible catch to win, Oregon, at Iowa, all of those types of games. And then, of course, the chaos across the ACC. There are a lot of teams that aren't completing a dominant performance over a team like BC. Even Notre Dame last week. I don't want to say they were looking ahead to Navy, but they did not have the performance that they wanted against Boston College, and SMU was in complete control of this game because of Kevin Jennings in large part. The running game was rolling as well, but it kind of took like a full minute to get there. I thought, the penalties, which we'll talk about, some more, but they were really able to overcome a lot of that. I mean, this thing should have been like 24-0 at the half or maybe even more than that. It really shouldn't have been anywhere close to competitive at the end of the first half because this offense just did, for the most part, whatever it wanted.
What kind of plays do you have drawn up for 1st and 45? I've seen that one poking its way around the internet. I mean, it's you get in those situations, and obviously that one is an anomaly. We're not facing 1st and 45 very often, but it kind of is the epitome of what we've been seeing from a penalty perspective of where we just can't get out of our own way for whatever reason. And look, I was listening to this game on the radio. I had an event that I had to go to where I was rocking the AirPod, but I watched it back, and so I was able to see some of these things on film. Maybe a couple of them were iffy, but the rest it was all right. Those were pretty spot on. Those are pretty obvious penalties. So we talked about it a ton early in the year. We had a bunch against the likes of Missouri State where we were like, is this going to be an issue the entire year? And they had really cleaned it up until this point. So that was just kind of the major question mark, I would say, because I had thought that we had nipped that in the bud. I'm sure that it's not going to happen again because of how it was addressed earlier in this year, but it is just a cause for concern.
Yeah, I think Rhett was kind of exasperated by the whole thing. SMU 131st nationally in penalty yardage per game. Wake Forest, the only ACC team behind SMU in that regard. But I think there's no excuse for what Romello did punting the ball. I honestly could not believe it. And I was sitting next to the SMU PR guys, and they were already kind of charting for the next player doing whatever they do. I go, guys, wait till you see this. You will not believe it. And that was actually a pretty good punt, but it was not at all what they needed to end that half too, because they were going to have a holding penalty on the defense that would put them into BC territory, and you had probably like a good chunk of time. I think there was probably 30 seconds left, and some of these things are just, they're the difference in, Charlie Pfizer playing the entire fourth quarter and Charlie Pfizer playing half the fourth quarter. And shout out to those guys for executing. I think Charlie had a touchdown drive. So
Yep, he did.
with Derek McFall breaking the big one to put it on ice. But just still a really special day offensively because of their yardage, and yet they still got in their own way a good bit in that first half.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, someone who didn't really get in their own way, I think this defense. I mean, I've got him as an A- only because of the yardage allowed in this game. 390 yards allowed, but only 13 points. And it really only matters how many points they're going to give up. You held Boston College, a very run-heavy team in the past, 2.7 yards per rush. Boston College was 2 of 15 on third down. But when I was looking into that, I was like, well, that must have meant that they were way behind the sticks this entire day, and we just dominated them. Average third down distance was less than 5 yards. They did a great job staying ahead of the chains, but this defense did a nice job settling in and getting stops where it mattered. Boston College went for it 7 times on fourth down. They were 4 for 7 on fourth. But I do want to talk about just the pressure and the dominance by this defensive line. 8 sacks, 9 tackles for loss, 4 sacks by Isaiah Smith, 1.5 by DJ Warner on only 10 pass rush snaps. That was his highest graded game of the year by PFF at a 91. Half sack by Jeffrey Emba, but he added another 1.5 tackles for loss. And look, Ahmad Moses, let's talk about him again for the second straight week. He's just got a nose for the football. Second straight week with multiple trips to club takeaway. 2 interceptions last week against Miami, including the game-sealing one in overtime, and then the 2 fumble recoveries this week. He's just always around the ball. He's always in the right spot. Talk about if you run to the ball, great things happen. He's the epitome of that. But you lose Isaiah Wacobia early to an injury. And Tyron Polley stepped up as a true freshman. He had 8 tackles himself, a really nice job that he was able to do, including an interception on the day that he was able to come up with late. But Alex Kilgore, he hit double-digit tackles as well on the day. It's nice to have him feeling more like himself after you lose him early in the season with that injury against East Texas A&M. But now it's seeming that we're starting to get this defense minus a couple injuries that hopefully the bye week is able to take care of, where it's looking like they're about to hit their full strength.
And they're doing it, in ways that I think we could not have dreamed of seeing earlier this year when they were giving up explosive after explosive after explosive. Now they've seen the defensive line really settle in, start to take over a little bit. And by a little bit, I mean, as a whole, this game, they took over a lot. Getting 8 sacks, I mean, that's just insane. And Isaiah Smith obviously could have broken the single game sack record when he got taken out probably halfway through the fourth quarter. But when you're looking at this defense and how they've been able to do it, they're doing it with a secondary that is banged up. Now Isaiah Wacobia is dealing with a knee injury, is what Rhett Lashley said. I saw Isaiah at the end of the game. He was kind of hanging out on the sideline. He looked fine, so to speak, but did have a sleeve on it. So he was in full pads or whatever. He just wasn't going to go back in. I think this was a game that I think SMU could tell early on that they were going to take it to Boston College. And then Tyron Polley started making all sorts of plays. And that was just a huge deal when that was able to happen, and they just let him go the rest of the way until late in the game when they got him out. But this defense has really kept everything in front of itself for the most part, despite having some key injuries in the secondary. You look at the secondary guys that are out right now. Jalen Davis-Robinson and Marcellus Barnes missed on Saturday. Those are 2 starters at corner. And Speedy Nettles and Deuce Harmon played well, but you're missing Jalen Davis-Robinson with his speed. You're missing Marcellus Barnes with his play as of late. And that's a big deal. So I'm intrigued to see how healthy SMU can get down the stretch here. Do they get Jalen Davis-Robinson back? Do they get, obviously Marcellus Barnes is one that I think they feel like they'll be able to get back. But when these guys are all in there, that is going to help them against teams like Louisville and Cal, who can throw the football around. I mean, Miller Moss is super inconsistent, and then Sagi Pateli is a true freshman, but those are two teams that aren't afraid to throw it, and they're going to need everybody healthy. So
They will. I thought Speedy Nettles played really well, though, in his
yeah.
snaps on Saturday. He had a couple of really back-to-back plays where it was like, okay, if he can make that more consistent, you can easily see him stepping into a starter role where he can have a lot of success for us. So I gave defense an A- on the day. I wanted to make sure I don't miss a grade like I did, I think, a few weeks back. But special teams, I gave a B+ on this day. So Sam Keltner, 8 points on the day. 5 for 5 extra points, 1 field goal for 20 yards, where that was really only SMU's time that they had slipped up in the red zone. They ended up just kicking a short field goal to extend that lead to 10-0. But look, Wade McSparron, 47.8 yard average on 5 punts. Net punting average is 43 yards. Really nice day for him, bouncing back after, I believe it was a couple weeks ago. He had a couple of shaky punts early, but we didn't really have any blunders from the special teams perspective. There was no really time that you looked up and it was like, oh, here special teams comes again. They're gonna slow the other two units down. They had a really nice day. Ymir Knight, he had an 18-yard punt return. There weren't any really big kick returns, but you didn't need them on a day that this SMU offense went out and scored 45 points. So I'm going to give special teams a B+. They did a really nice job. There was nothing that was just absolutely exceptional. So I'm going to reserve those A's for on the days that we do need it, and they do come up clutch for us. But ultimately, all three phases, a really nice day for this team.
Yeah, I think the special teams having a nice bounce back was nice to see. I mean, I think that's a unit that just hasn't played a complete game just yet, and they were able to find a way to not, like you said, not make anything happen that really could have cost SMU. I think I could be wrong. Feels like there was a penalty on a return at some point for Ymir, but I could be totally wrong. So just strike it from the record or whatever. But Ymir is really close to breaking a punt return. I think he's getting close. And man, you see how shifty he is. It's just it's magic kind of back there. Like whenever Rod would catch the punt, once he caught it, you knew he could make something happen. That was sometimes an adventure. But Ymir is just so calm back there. Never really has any issues with punts and fielding those. And on the bright side, SMU gets him for another year. So that could be really, really big, as KJ will have 2 new starting receivers on the outside and 2 new starting tight ends. And to have Ymir Knight coming back, and then the youth at wide receiver that seems to be progressing in the right direction. Jalen Cooper saw some more snaps on Saturday, or at least, I saw him. Kevin couldn't connect that flea flicker. He really missed him on that one. And then a penalty negated a Jalen Cooper reception too. So that's a little sidebar, but special teams, solid day for them. And it's nice when you don't have to talk about them, but that leaves us, when we don't have to talk about special teams, that leaves us a lot more time to spend on the Game Time app. You can roll all over the place on there. Check out the view from your seats. Check out all of the different angles that you could be sitting at for SMU Louisville. Game Time, we're going to learn about the actual kickoff time for the SMU Louisville game on Monday. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we can finally get a night game this season. But the Mustangs that are coming out for that game are going to get honored, the seniors. So it's a great time to use the Game Time app and browse through all their selection on there. You can use the zone deals that they have, where you can grab great deals in certain zones of the stadium. You can also be calm, cool, and collected, knowing that the price that you see is the price that you pay. Fees are included, so your total up front. And it's nice to have no surprises at checkout. I love the app. It's super easy. You can use the app by downloading it and creating an account and using code ON3, that's ON, the number 3, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Create an account, redeem code ON3 for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download the Game Time app today, and Hayden Howerton is going to give us the download in his film room.
And what you see is what you get with the Game Time app. They give you the fees included. What you see is what you get in the film room. The eye in the sky never lies, as they always say. But this was a really nice performance from really both sides of the ball. I don't have any special teams clips for this week, But what I do have is some really great performances from offense and defense. There's some individual efforts, there's some scheme things, and really just some great plays by the guys that were out there on Saturday. You can see some excitement from this team on video this week, where we hadn't always seen that in a road game against lesser competition where they kind of would just slug through it. This was one where guys are obviously playing with purpose at this point in the year. It is November, and guys are ready to go. So it's a fun one to sit here and watch in my chair. And so I really hope you guys enjoy this. Thanks again to the staff for letting us bring this to you guys. But without further ado, please enjoy the film room. Welcome back to the Film Room, everybody. I am your host, Hayden Howerton. Wanted to bring you guys some really cool clips from this past week's game against Boston College. And while we certainly had better athletes on the field than Boston College, I also think the scheme was better. When you look at some of the eyes in the sky that don't lie in this game, you're going to see some of that. So this first play here that I'm going to show you guys, we go back to the tackle over that we've seen a couple times this year. And typically when you go tackle over, teams are going to make the adjustment as they're going to put the tight end back in a tight end spot. So they're going to make the adjustment as they would really make the right guard the center by the defensive front to get them on the right page, because otherwise you've got 4 offensive linemen on the same side. Well, Boston College does not make the adjustment. They're giving us an under front to this. So they're going to give us a 2-eye, and they're going to give us a 9 technique here. There's a lot of space for running lanes when they line up this way, and SMU certainly took advantage of it. So on the snap, both Andrew Chambly at the tackle over spot and Josh Bates are going to get into what's called a man reach. So they are just man blocking outside zone on their defenders in front of them. And then on the front side, you're going to have a double here between the right tackle and the right guard, as they're going to work up to the next available. Really, this is the linebacker that works up into their gap, so Addison really just gets on tracks and helps out whenever possible. I really love this wrinkle that we added into this outside zone play in the fold on the backside. So Savion here at the left guard spot is going to block out on this D tackle, creates a lot of separation in a backside running lane, while Matthew Hibner is going to come underneath them and cut off this backside linebacker. Addison helps him out here. He does get a piece of him. I would have loved for us to push this ID so that way we could get Addison up to number 2 here. But sometimes in the field of battle, this is just what happens. So still a great run. Still gets us up to the linebacker. Could have been even better if we pushed this out, but a great way to set the tone early in this game. Speaking of set the tone here, this is one of those runs that always sets the tone. This is known as duo. This is what's called the duo concept here in the run game. And really what you need to know about duo is you think about it as power with no pullers. So we would run this very similar mindset to if we're running power or if we're running counter, in terms of we want our double teams to go straight vertical if we can. So here on the backside, we're really running a deuce here between the right guard and the right tackle, trying to take this guy vertical. And then on the front side, we're going to run an A between the center and left guard. This is a serious A here. We move this 2-eye off the spot. We're able to get into a great position as we cut the defense in half here. So on this deuce, we get split a little bit late. I would love to see the right leg of the right guard continue to work through the crotch of the defender so that we don't get split like this. But ultimately, we end up turning out. We get just enough on this backside linebacker that he just gets a hand on TJ Harden here. If he's able to shed that arm tackle, is able to break a couple more tackles and end up with an explosive run here. Really nice job of this offensive line taking it to this Boston College front, who's known as being very physical, and I thought we excelled in the trenches on Saturday. We certainly excelled in the trenches, but I also thought the passing game was exceptional this past week. So we just saw the duo scheme in the run game. Well, now we're going to run a duo protection here. So we've got the same thing. It's an A and a deuce, but that sucks the linebackers up. It allows our pass catchers to get behind them. You got your receivers out here. Thought this was a really nice job by Jordan Hudson. Going vertical, he sees and senses this safety getting inside leverage on him, and he's able to break this out. Kevin on the run here notices it too, makes a great throw here as we've just got the safety beat here. Ends up being an explosive pass and another 7 points for SMU. When the run game's going well, it certainly makes protecting Kevin a lot easier as well. Kind of keeps Boston College on their heels a little bit. I thought this was the case here. While this is a third down and long, and you see Boston College start to get into their flavor of the week. Looks like they were going to bring what we used to call a either radar or UFO front, depending on which system I was in. But ultimately, they have 3 big bodies in the game here. So they've got odd structure, nose guard, 2 true DNs. And then they have 15 here, who's walking around left, right. You're not really sure where he's going to end up blitzing. You're also seeing this linebacker number 33 starting to get low a little bit, starting to creep. This is one of those times that you're just wanting to get back and let the blitz come to you. I think we did a nice job here. Do a nice job of passing everything off, as this is a serious exotic blitz. They're rushing the nose guard all the way outside the tackle. They're dropping one of the DNs. They're bringing field pressure over here from the right. Even Derek McFall here does a nice job sticking his nose in there, picking up the extra man to the outside. Offensive line keeps Kevin clean. Kevin's able to sit in this pocket here. He doesn't even get any happy feet, and he finds Ymir Knight over here in some tight coverage. Delivers a great ball. Ymir Knight takes a shot here, but he does a great job of hanging on to it for a first down and to move the chains. Speaking of Ymir, he was a human highlight reel on Saturday, as came up with multiple big-time explosive plays here. Kevin was finding him often and early in this game, and this is one where he really just breaks free. He runs right by this corner that's over the top of him. I think that's actually the nickel, but he does a nice job of running a great route. He steps on his toes, he forces this nickel here to commit, and when his hips are flipped, he just goes right behind him. Is wide open, couldn't be more wide open, but once he gets in the open space, makes a couple more guys miss. He's got some perimeter blockers down there running down. I think that's Romello Brinson streaking down the left side, who's trying to get in on the play a little bit, help his brother out, but a really nice play. This was one of the plays of the game for SMU, and I think Dean had this on his Dean's list to go check out. This was a great play, top to bottom, great protection, great throw, and a great run after catch here by Ymir. One thing that you got to give Wake Forest credit for is they did a really nice job of scheming us up. And I thought what they did well is implementing a lot of their post-snap movement. So what that meant is after the ball was snapped, they were stimming to different gaps. So you'd have D tackles, two eyes becoming threes, you had DN spiking inside, and we didn't do a nice job of picking it up in that game a few weeks ago. However, it's nice to see this offensive line make the adjustment, as obviously Garen Justice and crew have worked this since then. So on this play, we're really running a inside zone here to the right. The Eagles have one of these games on where they're moving everybody inside. They're rocking this three technique way outside as the DN comes crashing in. I think we do a really nice job. This is supposed to be a backside B here between Savion and Andrew Chambly. Savion keeps going as he feels pressure go away. He climbs up to the linebacker. Chambly does a really nice job turning on the next guy. Matthew Hibner helps secure it. And then the three guys over here on the right do a really nice job with their eyes of pushing it to this outside blitzer. Give the ball to TJ Harden, dances around in the backfield a little bit, finds the open gap, and guess what? We're out the gate and off to the races here because Boston College overcommits. Really nice job of making the adjustment over the last couple weeks, getting better as the season rolls on, and you're able to rip off the longest run of the afternoon. So really cool to see that from this unit. Really cool to see TJ Harden find the crease here and get out the gate and off to the races. When I say everything was going right for this SMU offense, I really do mean it, especially late in this game. So we've run this pop pass here about 20 times this year. So the scheme of this is you're going to fake the quarterback run. Kevin looks like he's going to step up. It looks like you're using Matthew Hibner here to block this linebacker. Hibner runs right behind him. We call it the pop pass because you end up just popping it to the tight end over the top. Super easy pitch and catch if it ends up working. You do sell the run here a little bit. That is part of it as it draws the linebacker's eyes. Hibner runs right behind him and is able to turn on the jets. We haven't seen many of these long touchdowns from Matthew Hibner. Had the big one against Pitt last year, but it's really awesome to see him turn on the jets and outrun a bunch of defensive backs. A great day for this offense. Put up 45 points, tied the season high, highest of the year in regulation. We're going to need some more performances like this, especially against Louisville, against Cal, and hopefully for an ACC championship. But if they're able to play like this the next few weeks, it's going to get really fun to be an SMU fan. On to the defense now, as what a job by this defense of improving every single week as this year has gone on. And I wanted to give another shout out to the defensive line as they just had an exceptional day up front, really dominating this Boston College offensive line. So right here on the snap, we're going to watch number 1, Isaiah Smith, also known as Turbo here. Did a really nice job against Kevin Klein, who was one of my impact players of the game here, 79 for Boston College, the right tackle. Going into the game, he was their best pass protector, and Turbo just bullied him on this day. Really cool to see. This is a pretty good set here by Klein. He opens up a little bit late, but Turbo just does a great job of getting his hands off of him, turning the corner, continuing to rush that arc, and he's able to get home for a big-time sack when we needed it. Really cool for Turbo to tie the single-game sacks record with 4, and a really nice job by him and many others on this defense. These are the games that you're really able to judge the depth of your team. And I think somewhere that we're super deep at is defensive tackle. So I wanted to give a shout out here to Shaq and Wu Spencer as they do a really nice job, not just on their rush, as they don't really get a lot of pressure here, but they do a nice job of matching the arm here. Really, both of them stick their arm up here in slow motion. And I'm not sure who's able to get an arm on it first. I think it's Wu Spencer. But on the next play, you saw Shaq, number 40, able to get a hand on it and get another pass broken up. Back-to-back plays, that really demoralizes an offensive line, and just a great job up front. Another guy I wanted to give some love to after this game, DJ Warner, man. Guy that we got from Kansas, coming over from the Jayhawks to join this defensive line, and a guy that is really young. He's only a second-year college football player. He's going to develop more into his body. His rush bag is going to continue to get better. But I think in this game we started to see some of that big-time defensive end rush moves. So Kevin Klein, again here, the right tackle, a guy that I was very high on going into this game, just makes him look silly. Hits him with the chop spin move here. He throws Kevin Klein in the spin cycle and is able to get home for a strip sack that Ahmad ends up falling on. It's the first turnover for the defense on the day. It's first forced fumble for DJ Warner here in a game that really is able for him to build some confidence going into the last two games of the year. Overall, from the defense, I gave them an A-, but a really great day overall as they came up big when it mattered. They didn't allow a bunch of points, and they were able to build some confidence going into that Louisville game in a couple weeks. A really nice day for this team, top to bottom.
It's getting to be that quarter zip weather that you got your Horn Legend, quarter zip, you're sitting on the couch and you've got the film room on. Maybe the fire's on. Maybe you got a glass of tequila going with our friends at Socorro or some epic wine going. But Hayden never fails to disappoint when you get through the film room. Obviously learning so much. So we appreciate SMU for helping us out with that. Look, you're going to pick the MVP first, and you get one of the layups. I feel like this one was probably the easiest call of the year, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, a lot of guys played really well. KJ, Yamir, Ahmad, even Alex Kogor could have been deserving with 10 tackles on the day, but just the performance from Isaiah Smith, 4 sacks, tied at the SMU single game record with Justin Lawler and Luke Johnson. A really special day for a guy that's been here for 4 years. And when you think about the current landscape of college football, of guys are going up and down, they're going to the draft, things like that. And a guy that has really trusted the process and seen everything from Rhett's very first year to now. It's cool to watch his progression as well as the program's progression. So I said in my keys to the game that the D-line needed to make an impact in this game, and they certainly did. SMU can cover up a lot of defensive issues when the defensive line forces teams to be one-dimensional. And you're going to need a few more big games. This defensive line is going to continue to improve over the next few ACC games. Hopefully it's 3 more if we can somehow get into Charlotte, which we'll talk about in Coast to Coast. But if they can keep stacking performances like this one, I think this defense can go where we need it to go. Congratulations, Isaiah Smith, his first MVP of the season for us. Couldn't have come at a better time.
I had the difficult job of trying to figure out who should be my MVP since you took our friend Turbo. But I will say I did get to meet Isaiah Smith's mother. Finally got to meet her after all these years. I met her on the field after the Miami game. So shout out to Turbo's parents. They're proud listeners of the On the Pony Express podcast, so we appreciate them. Man, as far as MVP, I really think you've got to give it to the guy that really kind of made the offense, the straw that stirred the drink. I think it was TJ Harden on Saturday. He brought it from a physicality perspective, 8.1 yards per carry, 16 carries, 130 yards. He had a long of 53. He did not get into the end zone. Derek McFall did vulture one, I would say, to use a fantasy term. But these guys don't care. That's the thing about this running back room. They've got a really good group there with Kyle Cooper and Tyler Foster coaching them up, and they manage the egos, or they all check their egos at the door. Chris Johnson Jr. really wants to be out there right now, but he needed another game of rest. And Shotty Clayton Johnson, man, I've known shoddy since he was in high school, and to see him break out with a big run like that, and get hurt and hit the way he did, just stinks. So hopefully he's okay. And man, he was bringing some physicality to that. So anyway, SMU had to play with two running backs for most of the day, TJ Harden, Derek McFall. But I just felt like TJ's day really set the tone for this SMU offense as a whole, and he really kind of looked like that franchise running back. And look, our friends at My Perfect Franchise are proud to present the On the Pony Express podcast and help you find the franchise model that fits you and your family. So make sure you reach out to Andy Ludicky and his team and learn more about the franchise world, whether it be an owner-operator franchise model or semi-absentee franchise model or a master franchisee or an area or a regional developer. He can walk you through all of that. Go to myperfectfranchise.net for more information or give him a call, 404-973-9901. Andy, A-N-D-Y, at myperfectfranchise.net is where you can reach him. And Hayden, look, there are a lot of teams out there that would love to have just had a stress-free Saturday like SMU did, but that was not the case. We saw quite the weekend across the country, and in particular, the ACC. There's a lot to get to on Coast to Coast this week.
Yeah, this is a big one. I mean, we're going to start with UVA as Virginia suffers its first in-conference loss at the hands of Wake Forest. They did lose that game earlier this year to NC State, but it does not count for the ACC standings. So they're sitting at 5-1, same as SMU. But in the game, Chandler Morris takes a hit to the head and the neck. He misses the rest of the game after leaving in the second quarter. And after that, Wake Forest was really able to shut down this Cavalier offense. It kept them out of the end zone all night. Their only points were on the 3 field goals that they were able to kick. And look, their final possession, they did drive the field. They end up on the 5-yard line, 4th and goal. And backup Cavalier quarterback, Daniel Kalen, he just overthrew the intended receiver, where it sucks that their unbeaten ACC record kind of comes to an end for that. But Wake is bowl eligible, despite only 203 yards of offense on Saturday night, as UVA becomes the last ACC team to drop a league game. There's a lot of different paths for teams to get into the ACC championship at this point. SMU still is going to need a little bit of help as well as winning out. But this race is busted wide open. There's 5 teams now that have 1 league loss going into the final 3 weeks of the year. There's another 2 teams with Louisville and Miami who are still sitting right behind us with 2. But ultimately, this is going to be a wild finish in the ACC as the rest of this year plays out.
Yeah, I feel for Chandler Morris. I hope he's okay. I hope he's able to go back and play out the rest of the season, because obviously he's key. I wonder if the committee would take that into account if UVA, because if UVA wins out, I think they can end up in Charlotte. I think like that, if they win out, they're in. Not entirely sure on that, but it seems like they have kind of the advantageous spot that they're in. But I've not been high on UVA for a while. I think they've been toying with their food. Unfortunately, Chandler Morris got hurt, because I do think they win and beat Wake Forest, and Wake Forest deserves credit for taking advantage of the situation. You can only play the games you're scheduled. You can only play the chips you're dealt, and they got dealt a fortunate one in the sense that Chandler Morris got hurt. I think this is a battle of 2 teams that are in solid positions because of their schedules and just kind of how things have played out. So the good news is, I think it helps the ACC in this weird way. It's much cleaner if UVA gets to Charlotte and would have been unbeaten and all of that. But this now opens the door a little bit more for, I think, the best 2 teams to maybe end up in Charlotte. That's where, you're like the best ball being played right now. Georgia Tech, Pitt, SMU, probably that group. And I would love to include Louisville in there, but they are a totally different team without Isaac Brown, and it showed up in their loss to Cal in overtime.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, you look at it was while Wake and UVA were playing that Cal hosted Louisville on Saturday night, and this was an overtime thriller. There were 4 ties in regulation in this ball game. Cal wins the toss in overtime. They go on defense first. You actually force a long field goal by Louisville. 49-yarder is what ended up being the distance on that one. They do put it through the uprights to go up 3, but hey, Cal goes on offense. They really get stopped They have a 4th and 3 from the 3-yard line, and they go for it and get it. Jacob DeJesus, he hauled in the game-winning touchdown reception. Cal wins its first game versus a ranked opponent in the last 15 tries. And I think the Calgorithm, I don't want to give them more inertia than it's worth, but I think they're starting to get rolling at the right time, where it looks like maybe they'll be bowl eligible by the time they play SMU. That could certainly play into our hands if we're still chasing that road to Charlotte. But this is a Cal team that over the last couple seasons has really risen from the ashes of what they used to be. They're making it competitive in the ACC, and to go out and beat a top 25 Louisville team who, after that Miami loss, people had kind of a different sense of respect for. And to just go out, not care, and go get the win on the road is huge for the Golden Bears.
Yeah, massive win. I watched the end of this one, and just once you get into overtime, man, if you're that offense that's up next and you have a chance where you can go win it, one, even if the other team kicks the extra point, you should go for two, or, and do that. But in this case, it was, hey, you got one play, you got to run an extra point play. And man, what a throw, what a catch to just get in there and get it done. So yeah, Louisville's offense, I said this on Twitter, that this Louisville team is, in my opinion, being wasted by the fact that Miller Moss is the quarterback. I mean, he's just kind of an average game manager, and at times he can flash. He has talent. He's not, completely devoid of talent. But I mean, if Sagapitelli is the Louisville quarterback, I mean, it's a different world that team's living in, even with a true freshman at the helm. I mean, just haven't seen enough development from Miller Moss. It's probably eating Jeff Brom alive a little bit with all the talent that they have on offense. And obviously now Isaac Brown's hurt, but this is a Louisville team that will roll into Dallas, maybe with Isaac Brown, but probably without, from what it seems like. And now they'll have to go back out, and I think they play Clemson next.
They do, Friday night.
Yeah, that's right. So then they'll have the extra day to prepare for SMU, but that'll still be their 6th straight game. So quite the run for Louisville when they eventually face SMU. But this was a devastating loss. I was really kind of hoping Louisville would kind of get through and then tee up what could be a fun day in Dallas when they do come to town. But instead, it just got watered down a little bit. But you lose your star running back who makes that offense go, and you see the result, 20 points in regulation, and unable to really get things going in overtime.
Yeah, they're still ranked in the AP poll. We will see what the College Football Playoff Committee ranks them at on Tuesday night. But I'm still hopeful that this will be a matchup against a top 25 team in the country. Now, the Playoff Committee has not been kind to teams with 2 or more losses so far this year, which you're wanting the playoff to be the best 12 teams. You're wanting them to be, at worst 1 or 2 losses. I mean, you're even seeing where the committee did not have a single group of 5 team ranked in the initial rankings, which was kind of a surprise, where there's so many good teams between the American, between James Madison, who are starting to get on a roll, where that was shocking to me. And it's really all going to come down to, you might get a couple of polls where you're going to have some group of 5 teams, but it's going to be a tight race to the finish. But speaking of a tight race, I mean, this ACC championship race is back open for SMU, and it feels very achievable at this point in the year. And while we had said last week, we're going to need to get lucky, and you still will, but now there are some clear-cut scenarios to where if SMU wins out, you have a couple of options to get to Charlotte, to get back to the championship. And so the 2 paths that I'm looking at right now is SMU wins out, Georgia Tech wins out, and then Duke beats Virginia. If that happens, SMU will be in. The alternative would be SMU wins out, Virginia wins out, Pitt goes and beats Georgia Tech, and then Miami does us a favor and goes and beats Pitt. There are other ways to get in, but I think those 2 are probably going to be the most realistic for SMU with kind of this point in the season. I mean, who knows? Maybe UVA goes and loses to Virginia Tech in their big rivalry game at the end of the year, but I just don't see it happening at this point. It's going to be interesting to see as we get down the stretch. SMU can only control what they have in front of them. They've just got the Louisville and the Cal game, and if you take care of business in those 2, you're just going to have to watch and see what happens around the league.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see how this all plays out. Obviously, Miami and Louisville very much behind the 8 ball now with their 2 losses, and as far as rosters go, those are 2 that could have had a chance to make things happen. I feel like in the playoff, or if they had gotten there. But I look at Pitt, who's going to host College Game Day this weekend. I think they're off a bye. Then they go Pitt, Georgia Tech, Miami. They will have proved it if they make it there, but they have a tough road as well. If they drop one, then they're kind of out. But look, the kind of the simplest way is if Duke can bounce back and beat UVA, and then you'd have Georgia Tech needing to beat Pitt, and SMU would then win out, and then I think that would take care of everything from there. So
yeah, really, if Pitt and Georgia Tech, one of them are going to eliminate the other. It's just really going to come down to UVA and what they end up doing. But Texas Tech, they went and rolled BYU. This was one I probably didn't see coming. I know Texas Tech is a very good football team, but I kind of thought the style of BYU might slow down the game a little bit. But it was all Texas Tech in this game. Yeah. They held BYU to 255 yards as Red Raiders keep their Big 12 hopes alive. Red Raiders have never been to the Big 12 title game. And with 2 games left, it certainly looks like Texas Tech will be in Arlington. Red Raiders win the biggest game in the last 17 years, 29-7 over the Cougars.
Yeah, that was a pretty dominant showing by them. And credit to them for putting together the roster they did in the offseason and being where they are and doing it, despite some injuries and things like that. So that defense is playing their tails off. The offense is solid, but the defense has really, really been their calling card. And you could see them take the next step as a program. They'll have a lot of holes to fill next year, but they've pushed their chips in this year, and I'm sure they'll go after it pretty hard. But look, it's tough to grow grass out there in Lubbock, and one of our friends of the show, AKM Turf and Greens, can help you if you're out there with that, and they can get you hooked up in the backyard of your dreams just in time for things to cool down. So check them out, akmturfandgreens.com. Get $500 off your project today when you mention On the Pony Express. They have a great way to get in and out of your backyard. I posted it on the message board at ontheponyexpress.com to remind people that, hey, the great gift that you can get yourself this Christmas is your own backyard of your dreams. And akmturfandgreens.com is where you go to start that process. Click the contact us or email them at info@akmturfandgreens.com. So great work out there being done by Alex Carpenter and his crew on the backyard front. So it's a good time to get that done in time for the fall. And one place that is just having to recover from a heartbreaking game is the Iowa Hawkeyes.
No doubt. Oregon goes into Iowa City. You force Oregon to kick a game-winning field goal. 39-yard field goal by Atticus Sappington. 3 seconds remaining. You lift the Ducks up to a 2-point win. And look, this was a really rainy and cold game. It forced Oregon to run the ball against a top 10 rushing defense in the country that the Iowa Hawkeyes had. This was one that I had picked Oregon, but it was not going to shock me if Iowa had come out and did what they did. Oregon rushed for 261 against a run defense that had been giving up only 84 yards per game. A really great performance by them to go out with the cards that they're dealt in a game where you're going to have to run the ball against top 10 defense and be able to go get it done. Oregon extended its FBS leading road winning streak to 11 games. They crushed the Hawkeyes' playoff hopes as Iowa is on the outside looking in now, but Oregon just, for some reason, they're able to keep it rolling.
Yeah, I watched it. I actually I think I changed the channel or maybe even went to bed when this one was winding down. And when Iowa scored late, I was like, oh, that's it. I turned change the channel. And when you sent the rundown, I learned of this one. Just completely missed it. Just, with the ending of the UVA game and all of those things. So good on Dante Moore, former 5-star quarterback, battling. He had a huge run. I think he's playing hurt. So they go in and get a gritty win. If they would have lost that one, that really would have helped the ACC and kind of, settle down what was a bad day for the ACC as a whole. But Oregon was able to find a way. I'm shocked that they won that football game.
Yeah, I'm shocked that Indiana was able to pull off the win against Penn State. That was the upset alert of the weekend for me. And look, that was a catch of the year candidate on that game-winning reception. Omar Cooper Jr. He had a touchdown grab, 36 seconds remaining, saved Indiana's perfect season. But the job Kurt Cignetti has done, he's a quote machine, which is really awesome to watch, because he was asked pregame about how Indiana had never won at Penn State heading into Saturday. They were 0-13. in Happy Valley. Kurt Cignetti's response was, well, this team has never played there. They're just cold-blooded. And they go out and they go down. They're able to claw back into it, and they go out and cap off a comeback to keep their perfect season alive. I mean, this Saturday, the biggest stories, per se, there were quite a few from the Big Ten, this game and the one we just covered. But Penn State now has to win out versus Michigan State, Nebraska, and Rutgers to even be bowl eligible after starting the year at number 2. Longest losing streak in 21 years for the Nittany Lions.
Yeah. I don't have anything to add there. Just an unbelievable. That was going on during the SMU game, so I couldn't really watch it. But we were down on the field, and I think they had the scores rolling or whatever. And when I had left the press box, Indiana did not have the ball, and they were down. And when we looked up as SMU's game was winding down, we were like, "Are you kidding me? How did that happen?" So Indiana escapes, and the rest of their schedule is horrific from what I've seen. I believe I might try to find this one as you break down the next game because it is so bad. Look, I mean, they're winning the games. I mean, I can't fault them, but it's nuts.
Just win, baby.
Yeah, just win.
It was the same that I had for SMU just coming into this past week. Just win. Doesn't matter by 1, by 20. They're able to escape that one. Got some quick hitters for you guys before we go. Texas A&M has a serious case to be the number 1 team in the country. They go beat Missouri, another top 25 win for the Aggies. And while I love to clown on them, I have to pay respect where it's due. They are on a serious tear right now. They're going to make some noise in the playoff if they can keep it up. But I'm also, on the other hand, anticipating the letdown that always happens with Texas A&M. But we'll see. Maybe this is a different year with Mike Elko. But on the other hand, Memphis and Tulane, they battled in an American Conference shootout at the Liberty Bowl on Friday night. Memphis' 15-point fourth-quarter comeback just wasn't enough. They lose to Tulane 38-32. And just like the ACC, it looks like the American is going to just eat itself up this year, where a bunch of different teams are taking each other out. It's going to be really interesting to see who comes down to the end and comes out on top. A couple more American Conference former teams. University of Houston goes and beats Central Florida. Battle of the Space Cities. Houston becomes the very first team to best UCF in their annual space uniform games. So pretty sweet for the Cougars. Vanderbilt holds off Auburn in overtime win in Nashville. James Madison improved to 8-1. They're making a case for the Group of 5 bid. UConn Huskies, though, watch out. 7-3 after their second win over an ACC team this year. They beat Duke in East Hartford, Connecticut. They almost beat Syracuse as well with a healthy Steve Angeli. So they were almost an honorary ACC team for the year.
That was the worst game probably for the ACC on the day because it was non-conference. You're like nobody thinks about UConn anymore. Jim Moore Jr. is doing a great job up there with the limited resources that they have. But man, Duke, like you got to figure out. I don't know. Manny Diaz is doing a fine job. There's no pressure on him over there to do anything year after year. But come on, man. Like that is a come on, man. Like you need the ACC. You need to help the ACC, and you can't do it. So I did find Indiana's 5 of their 9 Big Ten conference opponents have a combined 2-29 record.
Ooh.
So, yeah, crazy.
Yikes. Maybe it's the curse of beating Clemson in Death Valley. You just play horrific the next week.
Yeah, I guess so.
Wisconsin stormed the field. They upset number 23 Washington Huskies. The interesting thing about this game, they win 13-10 despite their true freshman quarterback throwing for 8 yards.
Insane.
All deep.
Good for Luke. Good for Luke Fickell. He's gone through it up there, and they've gone through it at the quarterback position. I think there's only been like 10 times over his few years there that they've had their starting quarterback. So anyway, they trotted out Carter Smith, one-time Michigan commit, if I'm remembering correctly, and flipped late when Bryce Underwood flipped to Michigan from LSU, who had a tough day at Alabama offensively. Their defense played pretty well, but they lost 20-9 in Tuscaloosa. And finally, bring us back to Springfield, Missouri, Hayden.
God, a place I hope we'll never have to go to again. But Missouri State, they win their 6th game of the year. They beat Liberty 21-17. I don't believe they're a bowl eligible team just because they are in that first year of the transition period. But Bears are 6-3 and they're 4-1 versus Conference USA teams. So their 3 losses are us, Florida State, or no, USC. I'm thinking of the other FCS team we played earlier this year. And then they lost to Western Kentucky. So 3 really respectable losses for the Bears, where who knows? We'll see how they end up. They won't go to a bowl this game, but great first year in the FBS for them.
Yeah, no doubt. And look, great way to head into the bye week for SMU. Able to get a win up there at Boston College. I think this team is, if they can get healthy and kind of stay focused on the main thing, as they like to say, they've got everything ahead of them. And look, if they don't get the bounces their way when it comes to the ACC championship a few weeks from now, they'll be going to a really good bowl game. I think it'll be either Orlando or it'll be Charlotte. So either Pop-Tarts or Mayo, I'm pretty sure. So could be a nice way to end the season against a good opponent, even if they don't get the help that they need. But I think they win out. I think they've got the ability. I think they take care of business. They remember November. And Hayden, one last piece of remembering November, man, Sonny Dykes and TCU dropped that game to Iowa State. Just they're not happy in Fort Worth with him right now.
I shamelessly hate watching that game. That was
That was one of the late ones. Yeah.
I was so excited that they lost that one. I mean, everything that can go wrong is going wrong over there right now. I mean, they have not played their best ball really since that week 4 contest against SMU. The tables have turned. Are we their Super Bowl now?
Yes. I think it's very clear. It's definitely Sonny Dykes' Super Bowl. No question. So, look, guys, we hope you guys enjoyed this edition of the On the Pony Express podcast. We'll get you out of here and let you go. We'll still have a lot of bye-week podcast content for you guys and other content on the site as well. Men's basketball playing this week. It has a big one against Butler Saturday. So make sure you guys are all subscribed to ontheponyexpress.com. That's $1 for your first week over there. And then just $15 a month, a couple beers, a couple Starbucks lattes, whatever you want to, call it. That is, your price to pay to get all the inside scoop on the Mustangs. So for Hayden Howerton, I'm Billy Embody. Hope you guys enjoyed this edition of the On the Pony Express podcast, breaking down SMU's 45-13 win over BC up north. And we will catch you guys next week as we get ready for SMU Louisville. Great matchup on Senior Day. So, Hayden, have a good one. Everybody else, thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Thanks for listening to the On the Pony Express podcast with Billy Embody. Follow us on your socials on X at SMU3 and on Instagram at On3SMU. And keep it locked to OnThePonyExpress.com for more coverage.